President William Ruto to address the drug menace.
Inga wangu amekoka birini saa hii na sio uzee, sio nini. Alikufa juu ya madawa ya kulevya.
Drugs, a common name in the streets of Nairobi, defined by these big buildings. But what lays down beneath these tall building structures? A question we are about to answer with me, Wangeshi. From recent statistics, at least 69.8% of drug abusers are the youths, with majority from colleges and universities. Among the top list of consumed substances are alcohol, miraa, and bang. Just few kilometers from Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital, we pulled efforts to dive inside Kayole, one of the most feared places in Nairobi County. In our one-on-one interview, we meet Juma, not his real name, who in this case started consuming drugs at an early age of 14 years back in the year 2012. But what drugs did he fall victim to and why?
Natumia jaba na marijuana, nilikuwa na stress. Venye mkuru alikufa, akatuacha sisi wawili. Sasa unajua mimi ndio nilikuwa nashughulikia sister yangu. Ikakuwa ngori kwangu. Sasa unajua mawazo nazo ndio nikaingilia. Nizo stress tu. Alafu bado marafiki nilikuwa nao.
Being an addict of marijuana for at least 5 years, we were eager to know how he gets access to this substance, and does he have any idea the risk he's exposing himself, having in mind this substance is illegal in the country.
Watu wa kuuza shashi wanaitwa pedi. Nikishachukua kwa pedi najisundanga, mali siwezi onekana.
With the ongoing debate whether marijuana is a drug, many like Juma continues to argue that marijuana is a herb, not a drug.
Naamini ni herbal. Sasa unajua dawa haiwezi kukupea ugonjwa.
But how did he know he had become an addict of marijuana?
Mmoja niliamka tu nikasikia tu mwili haiko fine. Na venye nilienda nikaivuta nikasikia tu niko fine tu. Nikajua hapo hiyo kitu ishaniingia.
Perhaps what has been the reality of this drug addiction to his life?
Hiyo addiction ni lost tu. Juu natumia do mingi kwa drugs kuliko ya chakula, unaona.
While falling into addiction becomes very easy, Juma reminds fellow youths not to fall in trap of addiction, as coming out is always a struggle.
Mwenye hajakuwa addicted naweza mwambia tu asiingilie drug. Hiyo tu.
Believe it or not, Juma is not the only one going through this. We meet our next victim who began consuming drugs since he was a teenager.
Drugs nilizianzia kitambo, nilianzia before nifike 18 years, at around 16 years.
But what was the reason?
Life tu ilikuja mambo tu mawazo mingi, unakuta zile vitu una spare kwa akili hazingiani na reality kwa ground, so drugs ikakuwa ni moja yake ya reason ama ya kitu yenye ilikuwa naitumia kama kunipatia moyo hivyo.
But what was the reason?
Hizo ma stress za youth ndio zinafanya nini wengi waingie kwa hizo mambo. Youth wako na ma stress mingi sana, so wanaona tu njia ya kuzitoa ni drugs. So wengine wataingia kwa drugs aina zote, mwingine achagua aone hii ndio inampatia nguvu kidogo, hii ndio inampatia nguvu hivyo. Mahali tu mtu anasikia ndio iko peace, kuna peace ndio anatulia tu. Lakini sana sana watu wanaingia tu juu ya hizo mambo ya mawazo mingi. Yani kutaka tu kujipea moyo tu.
Are drugs really expensive?
Drugs is expensive, so nilikuwa tu jinsi yuko shule nikienda tu labda ni squad mahali kahaso hivi ile tu ya kupita ile pesa napata kidogo juu hivyo sindapata tu pesa hiyo naenda tu direct kama natafuta drugs.
But why use marijuana locally known as kishash?
I was exposed to marijuana, so nikaona ndio tena iliingia tu kwa damu yangu ikaarrest, nikasikia hii kitu ni kama ndio inaingiana na mambo yangu.
Perhaps is he aware of the side effects of this substance?
Unajua tu, lakini sasa hizo una ignore tu na juu reality nayo haitaki ufikirie hizo vitu kwanza. Unaitumia kupigana na stress zingine, so the more tunaongeza stress za side effects na nini haitafanya kazi yenye unataka ifanye. So unaichukua alafu unaionyesha nimetumia hii drug ndio at least nijipatie moyo kesho niamkie. Na unaitumia hivyo na inakusaidia hivyo tu. Utaangalia side effects kwanza hata kama ziko. Najua tu juu hivyo ni vitu nilisoma juu nishakuwa shule. Although sikuwahi malizia, ni kitu nilikuwa najua, lakini nikaamua tu hapo ndio tu nitafuata hiyo njia tu.
Even with the knowledge of the negative side effects, how does one sink into addiction?
Naraukia hapo unakuta ukikaa mawazo unakumbuka tena kuna kitu sijafanya. Ukikaa tu hivi ukiwa kwa shughuli zako akili haikutoki, yani it's part of you, ni kama ni duty fulani lazima umalizie. So ukishakuta lazima tu masaa fulani unakuta akili inakumbuka tu, hapo ndio unajua yenyewe hii ni part of life. Sasa hapo lazima nijue kudeal tu na hivyo tu, lazima tu unakumbuka tu. Ukikaa ukifanya shughuli akili lazima iende kwa hiyo mambo, either nafaa niende nichukue hiyo kitu, nafaa niende ninunue, nafaa niende nitumie. Sasa kama uko nayo hivyo sasa ukianza unatumia mingi, ukiendelea unatumia mingi sana, so ukiamua ni kukwiti inaenda ikipungua tu. Mimi nilikuwa kama the time ya kuanzia nilikuwa natumia sana, tena nilikuwa mahali iko available, niliingia na hadi na company ya mtu fulani alikuwa kuipata si shida. So alikuwa tu anataka tu nikuwe tu available, as long as niko available hapa tunaitumia sana. So hata time saa tuko na inabidi nigaramie juu nimekuwa sasa user wa kutumia sana. So hata time hatuko na natafuta sana ni unatumia sana, lakini kama unaendelea hadi kuwa na ile kubalance. Unaweza sema acha nitumie kidogo leo, unaweza hata hivyo tu unaweza balance, lakini ukianzia una control kwanza.
But how much does he pay to get this particular substance?
Kuna quality is what ndio ina determine venye inauza. So kuna marijuana ya cheap, kuna marijuana cheap na marijuana ingine bei yake iko juu. Marijuana hiyo cheap inaitwa kwa mtaani sana inaitwa loko. Utauziwa marijuana ukiwa hata na 10 bob, ukiwa na 20 shilling utauziwa hiyo marijuana kulingana na mahali umeenda. Na kuna hiyo expensive, hiyo nayo inaitwa shashamane ama shash. So hiyo ukiwa na uwezi ipata ukiwa below 50 shilling. Nayo quality yake iko juu. So hiyo ni kitu hata ukichapa hivi unaweza kaa kutoka tuseme umeichapa afternoon, the next utaichapa labda puff ingine ama hiyo joint ingine utachoma ni jioni. Sasa iko quality iko juu. Lakini ile loko ukichapa tuseme 1 hour hivi, after 2 hours 1 hour and a half unasikia hiyo steam imeenda chini yote, inabidi uende uboost tena hivyo tu. So ni quality ina determine. Na hiyo pia shashamane ama shash ni kitu imekuja juzi, si bangi ya kitambo ama si marijuana ya kitambo, ni marijuana ya juzi. Loko mimi nasema kulingana na experience yangu ni kitu unaweza i-control, unaona? Ni kitu iko na control fulani hivi unaweza i-control. Ni kitu natural yani, lakini mambo shash kui-control ni ngumu juu iko na steam nguvu, iko na makali mingi. So hata ikiingia kwa mwili wako effect yake ni kali pia. So hata kucontrol inakuanga si rahisi vile, inakuchukua obvious, inakuchukua. Lakini hata loko unaweza chapa loko mzima hivi na bado unasikia tu, hata utasikia tu kama uko tu sawa tu yani, unasikia hata naweza ongeza nini. Lakini shasha hata kabla umalizie joint mzima unakuta hata unasema acha hii niweke ya masaa ingine. So effect yake utaifeel tu yani.
And how has all this affected his life, and what action did he take?
Wezi jua ile speed unaenda nayo ya kuachieve hizo personal dreams na goals zako. Hizo ndizo sana sana huaffectiwa. Personal life huaffectiwa sana. Imeaffect hiyo mambo tu na plans za maisha hivi, unakuta umelag behind. Mambo speed ya kuachieve goals zako na personal dreams goals, hiyo vitu zinakuanga slow.
After more than 5 years of smoking marijuana, what would you tell other victims struggling with addiction?
Kitu rahisi ya kufanya, unaona drugs sio kitu mzuri, kwa hiyo ni kitu ajue hivyo kwanza. So kitu yenye anaweza fanya kwanza, yeye ni ajaribu ajikeep busy. Akuwe busy in one way or another, yeye aone masaa yake hayuko, yeye anashughulika na kitu fulani na mkeep busy. Hivyo tu, as long as ako busy atakuta akili yake haiko kwa hizo vitu.
While a large percentage of the youth continues to be ignorant on the serious repercussions that may result from the consumption of these substances, we decided to clear the doubt from an authorized medical practitioner.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Patrick Modin. I am a pharmacist. Drugs are anything that when taken orally or introduced into the body can alter the normal functioning of the body. But when it comes to classifying drugs, we have different classifications depending on the pharmacological effect, depending on their effects in the body. Other drugs which are antidepressants, and in the hospital we take them because we have patients who have depression as a medical condition. We also classify those drugs to be controlled drugs because of their potential to be abused. Drugs like marijuana so far, and other than the upcoming studies that are showing the use in palliation in cancer, we really don't have medical use per se, but they are highly used as substances of abuse. Drugs like alcohol, which in our case here, we usually attach almost every medical condition to the consumption of alcohol. And these are chemicals that when they enter your body, they dispose you to many things. We start with the hypertension, which is killing many of our people, because for you to detect hypertension, you must walk into a facility and you have to have your BP taken occasionally. And we know most of our youth rarely go to the hospitals to have these normal checkups. So you will get this patient when they are already in crisis, which we are referring to as a hypertensive crisis. And this would be predisposed by even consumption of alcohol. We have lung cancer, which is brought about by smoking, which is also part of the substances that our youth are abusing. And even as we talk now, the prevalence of lung cancer in the country has gone very high, which is contributed to smoking. That is, by the time you are getting lung cancer, we are saying this person, we really can do nothing for this patient other than palliation, meaning that we just support the patient as we wait for them to walk to their last mile. So majorly, there will be issues to do with cancer. We'll have chronic illnesses. I've mentioned things like being predisposed to diabetes. We'll have being predisposed to hypertension, which are chronic illness means that if you get it, then now you have to deal with it you have to be on meds for life. For alcohol, there are many things that we can attach to it. Other than hypertension, it is also a predisposition to things like diabetes, and economically this has a big impact. Why? Because many of the youth that we meet in the streets who are abusers of these drugs cannot even pay for their bills. Every coin they get, they want to direct it to purchase of these drugs. So the economic aspect also has to come out clearly, that once you get into drug addiction, it will be hard to come out. And some of these drugs are very expensive, and even accessing them means that you have to spend a lot of money to know who is selling them for you to purchase them. Once you get into the world of drug and substance abuse, one at times you may find yourself you don't fit in the society. You will get into depression. At times you may not even have the finances. I've mentioned these drugs are very expensive. So at times you may not even have the finances to buy this. So what will happen? You want to take your life because you cannot afford. You can't really fit in that social class that you have put yourself in. And that's why you realize majority of the drug addicts, if they happen to be the poor and the middle class, uh, kind of people who have come from a middle class or very poor class, at times they won't be able to meet the cost. So what will happen? Into depression, you can't meet into the social class that you have put yourself in, and even sometimes socially you will be affected because you will not be able to provide for the family everything that you get. Once you are addicted and you are depending on this drug, it means that every coin you are earning, you direct it to purchase of alcohol and the drugs of or the substances of others.
We were eager to know from a medical perspective the reasons as to why majority of the youth are drowning into addiction of these substances.
We have many of the youth that have not been exposed to information like what we are sharing with you today. Majorly, the modern youth that we have today is somebody who wants to look like a celeb, I would say so. And because we are used to seeing people who are celebs, they are everywhere trying to advertise themselves, how they are taking alcohol. So one thing would be the celebrity aspect. You want to be like that big person who is taking alcohol out there or is abusing a particular drug. Secondly, there are many expectations that the youth have, that I will, by 30, I want to have a big car, I want to have this and this and this. And if they fail to, then now they get into drugs and substance abuse because now they think they have failed, they are depressed already, and they have felt XYZ has told them that these are the drugs that you use for depression. So they get into substances, not because they medically qualify to be there, but because of the pressure of life. They want to achieve things that are beyond them at that age. We also have, yes, these things are regulated, but it is the masses who aid the regulators in trying to move some of these laws. And at times we have some drug peddlers who may not be identified by our police or the regulators that we have, and they will use the youth to peddle the drugs. So in the process of peddling, they end up being consumers of the same. So that thing will emanate from one, you want to get capital from peddling the drugs, or you have been influenced by your colleagues. That's peer pressure.
How and where can a drug addict then find help?
We have government-run centers that we call them the MAT clinic, the methadone-assisted clinics, which we have, like for example, here while still we are standing here in the University of Nairobi, we have one at Ngara, where all these patients can walk in, or else these youth can walk in. You get that psychological support. We have registered rehabilitation centers that we have, like for instance, we are now, because we are the University of Nairobi, we have one at Chiroma here, which is a private run facility. We have government run facilities where we take these people and we go through the process of rehabilitation. If it's alcohol, we need to do the detoxification, and at least we work with that person to make sure that within a period of time they are out of. But it has to be self-drive. Secondly, we have outside there churches that are always talking about drugs.
Seeing government institutions like University of Nairobi having campaigns against drugs, what do you think the government on its own can do to curb this menace?
One thing is that on the government side, they need to tighten the war on peddling of this drug, like the marijuana, the cocaine, even our own prescription drugs like morphine. They should tighten their battle on this. And on top of this, the youth themselves, because unless you are engaged outside here in the best way possible, it's hard to get you into. So it will be easy for you to get into this peer pressure. So it means that we need to encourage our youth move into the socially acceptable groups like churches, maybe activities like what we are doing here, medical camps. In that case, we are engaging where you will have free time to jump into these peer pressure practices. On top of that, I believe some of these drugs which are sold out there, which require prescription, we need also to make sure that as the medical practitioners, we need to make sure that the person who gets these drugs, because they will leave our pharmacies, they will leave our hospitals to this, we need to make sure that we follow the set rules, guidelines that talk about scheduled drugs.